If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life, this is my petition, and spare my people, this is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, to be killed and annihilated. Our story begins not in the rolling hills of Judea, but in the heart of the most powerful empire the world had yet seen, Persia. We are in the capital city, Susa, a dazzling metropolis of breathtaking architecture and unimaginable wealth. It is the 3rd year of the reign of King Ahasuerus, known to history as Xerxes the Great. He is a man who commands 127 provinces, from the scorching plains of India to the lush highlands of Ethiopia. To display the vast riches of his glorious kingdom, the king throws a festival. But this is no mere party. It is a 180-day spectacle of opulence for his nobles and officials, followed by a 7-day banquet for every single person in the capital, rich or poor. Wine flows from golden goblets, and the king, in his pride, wants to show off his most prized possession, his beautiful wife, Queen Vashti. He commands her to appear before his drunken guests, wearing her royal crown, to be paraded like a trophy. But Queen Vashti, a woman of dignity and strength, refuses. The king's command is a public humiliation, and she will not submit. The king, enraged and embarrassed, consults his advisors. They warn him that Vashti's defiance will set a dangerous precedent for all women in the empire. And so a royal edict is issued. Vashti is deposed. She is a queen no more. The search for a new queen begins. Far from the palace intrigue, in the Jewish quarter of Susa, lives a young orphan girl named Hadassah. Her name means myrtle tree, a humble, fragrant plant. Following the Babylonian conquest of Jerusalem generations earlier, her people live as exiles in this foreign land. After her parents died, Hadassah was adopted and raised by her older cousin, Mordecai, a kind, wise, and devout man who loved her as his own daughter. Hadassah was not only stunningly beautiful, but she possessed a quiet grace, a gentle spirit, and a sharp mind. When the king's decree goes out, ordering all the beautiful young virgins of the empire to be brought to the palace harem, Mordecai knows Hadassah will be chosen. With a heavy heart, but with trust in a plan greater than his own, he gives her a critical instruction. Do not reveal your people or your family background, he warns her. In the Persian court, being Jewish could be a liability. From this moment on, she will be known by her Persian name, Esther, which means star. Esther is taken to the palace and placed under the care of Haggai, the keeper of the women. For a full year, she and the other candidates undergo extensive beauty treatments. 6 months with oil of myrrh, 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. But it is Esther's character, not just her appearance, that shines. She wins the favor of Haggai and everyone who sees her. She is respectful, humble, and intelligent, never demanding more than what is given to her. Every day, Mordecai paces back and forth near the courtyard of the harem, anxious for news of his beloved Esther. Finally, the day comes for Esther to go before the king. Unlike the other women who request lavish jewels and gowns, Esther takes only what Haggai suggests. When King Ahasuerus sees her, he is captivated. She is more lovely, more graceful, more radiant than any woman he has ever seen. The king's heart is captured completely. He places the royal crown on her head and makes her his queen. A great banquet is held in her honor, and the king proclaims a holiday throughout the provinces. The orphan girl Hadassah, the hidden Jew, is now Esther, Queen of Persia. But a shadow is about to fall upon the empire. A man named Haman, an Agagite, is promoted by the king to be his prime minister, second in command over the entire realm. Haman is a man consumed by pride and arrogance. The king commands that all royal officials at the king's gate must kneel down and pay honor to Haman. But one man refuses, Mordecai. As a devout Jew, Mordecai will bow only to God, not to any man. Day after day, the other officials question him. Day after day, he stands firm. When Haman learns of Mordecai's defiance, he is filled with a volcanic rage. But in his twisted mind, punishing a single man is not enough. When he discovers that Mordecai is a Jew, his personal hatred blossoms into a genocidal plot. He will not just destroy Mordecai, he will annihilate his entire people. Haman goes to the king, his words dripping with poison and deceit. There is a certain people dispersed among the nations in all the provinces of your kingdom, he lies, whose customs are different from all other people and who do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. He then makes a sickening offer. If it pleases the king, let a decree be written to destroy them, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the royal treasury. The king, easily manipulated and perhaps bored, takes his signet ring, the symbol of his authority, and gives it to Haman. Keep the money, the king says casually, and do with the people as you see fit. The decree is written, sealed with the king's ring, and sent by couriers to every corner of the empire. On a single day, the 13th day of the month of Adar, all Jews, young and old, women and children, are to be killed, destroyed, and annihilated, and their property plundered. When the news breaks, a wave of terror and grief washes over the Jewish people. There is loud mourning, weeping, and wailing. Mordecai tears his clothes, puts on sackcloth and ashes, and walks through the city, crying out with a loud and bitter cry. When Esther hears of Mordecai's distress, she is deeply troubled. She sends clothes for him, but he refuses them. Through a messenger, Mordecai sends her a copy of the death edict and urges her to go before the king to plead for her life and for the life of her people. Esther's blood runs cold. She sends back a message reminding Mordecai of the law of the land. Anyone who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned is to be put to death. There is only one exception. If the king extends his golden scepter, that person's life is spared. And, she adds fearfully, I have not been called to see the king for 30 days. Mordecai's reply is the turning point of our story. It is a message that echoes through the ages, a call to courage in the face of impossible odds. He says, do not think that because you are in the king's house you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, he asks, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. The words strike Esther's heart like a lightning bolt. Her fear gives way to resolve. Her identity as a queen and her identity as a Jew merge into a singular purpose. She has been placed here, in this position of power, for this very moment. She sends her final, brave reply to Mordecai. Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. For 3 days, a nation prays. For 3 days, a queen prepares for her potential death. On the 3rd day, Esther puts on her most magnificent royal robes and stands in the inner court of the palace, in front of the king's hall. The king is sitting on his royal throne, facing the entrance. When he sees Queen Esther standing in the court, his heart softens. He is not angered, but pleased. He holds out the golden scepter. Esther approaches and touches its tip. She is safe. "What is it, Queen Esther?" the king asks. "What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you." But Esther is a brilliant strategist. She doesn't blurt out her plea. Instead, she says, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared for them." Haman is ecstatic. To be personally invited to a private banquet with the king and queen. His ego swells to unimaginable size. He goes home boasting to his wife and friends. But on his way, he sees Mordecai at the king's gate, still refusing to bow. All his joy evaporates, replaced by that familiar, burning hatred. His wife, Zeresh, gives him an idea. Have a gallows built 75 feet high and ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai hanged on it. Then you can go to the banquet with a happy heart. The idea delights Haman, and he has the gallows built immediately. That very night, a miracle happens. The king cannot sleep. He commands that the book of the Chronicles, the official records of his reign, be brought and read to him. As the scribe reads, he recounts the story of how 2 of the king's officers had plotted to assassinate him, and how a man named Mordecai had uncovered the plot and saved the king's life. The king stops the reader. "What honor and recognition has Mordecai received for this?" he asks. His attendants reply, "Nothing has been done for him." At that very moment, Haman enters the outer court. He has come at the crack of dawn to ask the king's permission to hang Mordecai on the gallows he just built. The king sees him and asks, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Haman's heart leaps. "Who would the king delight to honor more than me?" he thinks. So he lays it on thick. "For the man the king delights to honor," Haman says, "have them bring a royal robe the king has worn and a horse the king has ridden, one with a royal crest placed on its head. Let the robe and horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble princes. Let them robe the man the king delights to honor and lead him on the horse through the city streets, proclaiming before him, 'This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor.'" The king is impressed. "Go at once," he commands a stunned Haman. "Get the robe and the horse, and do just as you have suggested for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Do not neglect anything you have recommended." Humiliated, seething with a rage so deep it is nauseating, Haman has no choice. He takes the robe and the horse, finds his mortal enemy, and parades Mordecai through the city, shouting the proclamation of his honor. Afterward, Haman rushes home, his head covered in shame, just in time to be hurried off to Esther's second banquet. At the feast, the king once again asks Esther, "What is your petition?" "It will be given you." "What is your request?" "Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted." The time has come. Taking a deep breath, Esther speaks, "If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life, this is my petition, and spare my people, this is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, to be killed and annihilated." The king is on his feet, his face red with fury. He had no idea the edict involved his own queen. "Who is he?" he demands. "Where is the man who has dared to do such a thing?" Esther raises a trembling hand and points directly at the prime minister. "An adversary and an enemy," she declares.
This
vile Haman! Haman turns pale with terror. The king storms out into the palace garden to cool his rage. In a panic, Haman falls on the couch where Esther is reclining, begging for his life. At that exact moment, the king re-enters the room. Seeing Haman in such a compromising position with the queen, the king roars, "Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house?" As the words leave the king's mouth, his guards cover Haman's face. His fate is sealed. One of the eunuchs, Harbona, speaks up. "A gallows, 75 feet high, stands by Haman's house," he says. "He had it made for Mordecai, the man who spoke up to help the king. The king's command is swift and final. Hang him on it." So Haman is executed on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. But the danger is not over. The original decree of death still stands, and according to Persian law, an edict sealed with the king's ring cannot be revoked. So, the king gives a signet ring to Esther and Mordecai. "You yourselves write a new decree in the king's name," he tells them. Mordecai, now dressed in royal robes of blue and white, writes a new edict. It does not cancel the first one, but it counters it. The new decree grants the Jews in every city the right to assemble, to protect themselves, and to destroy any armed force that might attack them and their families on the 13th day of Adar. When the day arrives, the Jews gather and defend themselves. With the backing of the local officials, who now fear the powerful Mordecai, they are victorious over their enemies. Deliverance has come. To celebrate this incredible turn of events, where sorrow was turned to joy and mourning into a day of celebration, Mordecai and Esther establish an annual festival. They call it Purim, named after the pur, the lots that Haman had cast to choose the day of their destruction. It is a time for feasting, for joy, for sending gifts to one another and giving presents to the poor. And so, the story of the star, Queen Esther, a story that remarkably never once mentions the name of God, becomes one of the most powerful testaments to his unseen hand. It is a story of hidden providence, of courage found in the face of fear, and of how one person, in the right place at the right time, acting with bravery and faith, can change the course of history and save a nation.
Hello friends, it's your personal person, Cha. Thank you for watching and for being a part of this family. Please like and subscribe for more wisdom tales. See you in the next video.